This fragrance makes you feel like you're visiting some underwater lost archive. Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Often. I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances, and this is a practical review of Zoologist Squid. These reviews are for fragrances I have a lot of experience with, multiple wears in many situations, and are meant to give you a general idea of what it feels to wear the fragrance. As per usual, I do a lot of research before buying fragrances these days, but I don't really like to go into details about notes and accords because I don't really feel that they benefit the end user. I'd rather focus on the wear experience as a whole. Today I'm super excited because I'll be talking about the first Zoologist fragrance on this channel. Zoologist is a brand that has always massively intrigued me. I think it's a super cool brand. I like the idea behind it. I like the creation concept. I like their ethic policy, and I like their presentation and art style. The general vibe of Zoologist is just fun. And you know what? Sometimes we need a little bit more fun in this hobby that is often taken way too seriously. Zoologist is a brand from Canada that specializes on animal-inspired fragrances. A lot of their fragrances are known because of their animal notes, but actually the animal inspiration is far from the actual creature. It's more about the idea of the creature. It's more about the idea of the habitat of the creature. Or sometimes it's actually what the creature could represent if it were like a humanoid form. Oftentimes the fragrances take a funny, ironic twist to them. They're absolutely not meant to be realistic. They're not meant to be representations of that actual animal, because otherwise they would all smell more or less the same. But it's a fun take and a creative take on what these animals could be like in a fantasy world in a way. This incredibly fun and creative vibe extends to the marketing as a whole. The presentation of the bottles, the websites, the description of the scents, it's all super cool. Unfortunately for me, living in Switzerland, zoologists are actually really difficult to find. And I've been having a lot of trouble getting hold of these fragrances. They are sold right off the border in Italy, they're sold right off the border in Germany, but in Switzerland there's no official retailer. And if I want to import something, it's really expensive. Currently I have two zoologists. I have Squid and I have Camel. I already plan on getting many more just because, again, it's one of those brands that I can see myself really getting into. And it is one of those brands where I think a collection is just cool to have because it's like a range of fragrances. Zoologist, being quite a niche brand of fragrances, unfortunately demand quite the niche price. These are not cheap. They hover around the $200 where I live for about 60 ml. Or rather in the proximity of where I live. So yeah, definitely not cheap. Very difficult to find on the gray market. Very difficult to find secondhand. On my Craigslist type site that I use for selling and purchasing and trading fragrances, I actually saved the search. So anytime Zoologist gets tagged, I get a warning so I can go in and see what's up. But honestly, I never got anything except for these two, which I snatched. So yes, I think it's a super cool brand with a great presentation, great marketing, great idea and concept, yes. But how are the scents? What do they smell like? Do they smell very animalic, as most people say? This is not one of the most challenging ones. My other one, Camel, is technically one of the more challenging fragrances from the house. Spoiler, I don't think these are challenging at all. They're actually a relatively mass appealing take on what this animal could be like. Again, your mileage may vary. I'm very accustomed to animalics. I like potent and weird smells, so there's that. I have to say that I did not try T-Rex or Hyrax or Civet, which apparently are some other of the most challenging ones. I'm very curious and I'm really into trying these. The fragrance juices, arguably what is most important in a fragrance. From what I can tell in my two bottles, they smell good and they smell fairly unique. So they're not these generic knockoffs. I don't feel that the house cheaped out on these fragrances. I really can't express anything on the quality of the materials because they smell so different and they're kind of difficult to compare to anything else really. But enough about the brand, let's just talk about Zoologist Squid. First and foremost, let's hit the presentation as usual. The box these come in is pretty standard and forgettable. It's a flat style box. There's a pseudo velvety thing inside. The fragrances are well protected, but again, nothing to write home about. The bottle is where the presentation shines, in my opinion. Not only the bottle shape is pretty weird. We have this like sort of a trapezoid style bottle. I think it's pretty classy, pretty old school. The edges are surprisingly sharp, actually. The label is high quality. The drawing on the label is absolutely magnificent. In the case of Squid, we have a squid, which is dressed up as a mage of some sort, or a wizard. It's wonderful, and I think that actually the mage reference is fitting for the scent profile, but we'll get to that in a sec. Yeah, the bottle is absolutely gorgeous. The cap is this, it's a metal cap that's sort of wrapped in fake leather. In a way, the fake leather makes it feel a little bit cheap. It's a little bit tacky in a way, but it's okay. It's heavy, it's well made. There's like an engraving on the top. I think it's okay. The one thing about the presentation that really bugs me, and I can't get over for some reason, it might be just these two bottles that I have, but they both feature the exact same defect, is that the atomizer sits on top. It doesn't go inside the sleeve here. So there's like a gap. There's a gap of like 1 millimeter between the sleeve and the atomizer. And it kind of looks cheap because you can see the components under it. It doesn't feel seamless or flush. The atomizer also is a little bit, it's a little bit leaky in a way. I don't know, for some reason, every time I pull off the cap, and I've been wearing this a lot recently, for some reason, every time I pull off the cap, there's a little bit of like an oily drop on the atomizer. And again, Camel does the exact same thing. On the positive side, the atomizer, the actual atomization is perfect and beautiful, and it's one of the better ones, actually. Let's give it a couple sprays. Yeah, it's a fine mist, it's beautiful, it's easy to spray. It's really great, except for this stupid gap. Another thing to note, which I appreciate, it might be just a byproduct of the glass type or whatever, I don't think it's intentional, but the bottle is incredibly fingerprint resistant for some reason. It has this like micro corrugation, so it might actually be due to the cheaper bottle design or cheaper glass used, but it feels a little bit more antique and rugged, and again, it is fingerprint resistant. So yeah, presentation is, I think it's super great. Again, that atomizer gap is really bugging me, but I think it's super cool and it's worthy of the brand idea and concept. All right, let's finally get into the scent profile. What does Squid smell like? When I say that I don't like to reference notes, this is particularly true for fragrances like these zoologists. It's really difficult to imagine from the notes and Fragrantica what this actually smells like and be accurate with it. You would think that the name Squid implies that this is sort of a marine scent. It's actually really not. I can't really pinpoint anything that's specifically marine. And I have very marine scents. And I don't know, there's nothing here that screams aquatic. What this actually is, it's a sweet incense scent that has a dark component to it, which might be that ink note that's in it. So when you first spray this on, and actually I've been wearing this as my scent of the day, and I've worn this quite a bit recently just because I like it so much. You get this really sweet, creamy incense. It's quite unusual because this incense, it's a fairly churchy incense. It's really, I would say it's very authentic smelling frankincense in a way. But there's this sweet component which makes it almost smell like almost like a shisha, or it might be almost reminiscent of a vape, like smoke from a vape. So you get this very dense, white, not heavy, not burnt smoke, which is heavily flavored in a sweet way. The sweet note is difficult to pinpoint because I don't know really what it smells like. It's not an easy identifiable flavored smoke. It's more of a generic sweet smoke. This sweetness might be a little bit ambery in a way, maybe. Or it might be even the ink component to it. Apparently there's a big ink note in here. And I can't really tell because I don't really have much reference. I think the only other ink, heavily ink-based perfume that I smelled was the Stefan Humbert Lucas one. What is it? The Black Serpent one. And the scent is pretty linear, so that sweet incense cloud really goes all the way down to the dry down. And yes, the scent changes a little bit, and through the progression of the wear, which by the way is, I would say the longevity is about 6 to 8 hours, not super crazy. During that time, the scent loses a lot of its sweetness and it becomes more smoky, like dark smoke. And the drier it gets and the darker the incense becomes and the smokier and the more pungent that smoke note becomes. To the point where in a deep dry down, like the one I have now, except for the one I sprayed, you get almost this burnt smell to it. It has like this really dark burning smoke to it. I really never pick up anything that gives me a marine sensation. If there is anything, it's really well blended within that incense. And if there's any saltiness or if there's any aquaticness, I really can't picture it. I don't really get it. While talking about the presentation, I said that the squid dressed as a mage or a wizard is fitting. And I stand by that statement because I think that this whole representation of this white smoke and this really dense smoke, it's almost like a trick that a mage or a wizard would do. I don't know, I just picture this squid kind of like exhaling this smoke to create this like smoke cloud around him. And this whole thing gives me some sort of a temple vibe, as I mentioned in my very first intro. And there's something about it that really gives me the imagery of this animal temple kind of thing, animal religion. I'm not really sure, with this squid in there that's just puffing out smoke and just filling out the rooms, almost like a smoke machine. Actually, you know what? This smells like smoke machine smoke. It's really that dense feeling of like inhaling something that's really rich and heavy. The heaviness is only restricted to that texture though, to like that sensation. Because the scent itself, I would say that it's definitely not restricted like to winter only. Again, it's summer. I've been wearing this in the summer and it's fine. I actually think that that dry incense really aids in having a sensation of like evaporating your skin in a way. It keeps your skin dry and dusty. Similar to what L'Air du Désert Marocain does. It just has this like layer of powder that keeps the skin really nice and dry. These are pretty much supposed to be experience fragrances, in a way, narrative or transportative. Now, on this front, I am a little bit disappointed. I was expecting to be a little bit more transported to like a location or to a habitat or to an environment. Instead, this is a little bit more of an abstract take on what squid is. Now, the disappointment was mostly at the start. When I got the fragrance, I was really excited. I was expecting a lot of marine. I was expecting to picture the squid environment. But ultimately, now I'm actually happy that it's a little bit of an abstract take. I think it's super fun, and it actually fits the brand way more. These are not meant to be like documentary fragrances. These are meant to be like fun takes on animals. There is the discussion that marketing plays a huge role in zoologists, as in some other fragrance houses that I cover, such as Ortoparisi, Nasomatto. And I do have to agree that without the marketing, this fragrance would probably not be worth the price. I'm not really sure that I would pay anywhere near close if this was like named something generic or something boring. Overall, I'm super happy to own this. Not only do I like the concept and the brand, and I really like supporting brands that I like, and I just generally like collecting stuff that has a really good intent behind it. But I actually really like the fragrance also. I've been wearing this a lot. It brings a smile to my face every time I wear it. It's great. I think it's an absolute banger, and I can't wait to sample or purchase more Zoologist fragrances in the future. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. If you have any comment, suggestion, opinion, feel free to leave us something down below. I always reply. I always get back to everyone. Thank you again for all the support. Another fragrance down, another review coming up. See you next time. Cheers.